My guest today is Jon Hargreaves. Jon is the Global Head of Growth at Elastos, which is a public blockchain project building a modern internet infrastructure that provides protection for privacy and digital asset ownership. We'll learn all about this today. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Pleased to be here, Andy.
Pleased to have you here, Jon. Look, let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It'd be great if you could please introduce yourself. Love to hear some of your personal and professional backstory. Yeah, what have you been doing in the lead up to joining the team at Elastos?
So my background is very much in technology over quite a long period of time. So I've actually been working with internet projects for over 25 years. Actually, one of my favorite pieces of work was working with ICANN, which is the organization that runs the whole of the global internet. And since that period, I've worked with lots of startups, really. So MySpace was one of the early ones, LinkedIn. And I guess probably I got into blockchain first rather than crypto because my interest really is in around kind of networks and how you create secure, safe, and open global networks, right? That's been my driver for being involved in technology. So blockchain kind of ticked a lot of those boxes. And in fact, our founder, a guy called co-founder Ron Cheng, he actually was at Microsoft and helped develop some decentralized technologies, .NET. And so, it's really very much about this shared view of how you build decentralized systems and create new forms of allowing the internet to be what it really is, which is basically an amazing way of connecting mankind. And that's my driver. Over that period of time, obviously, I got more involved in crypto because one of the beauties is that you can then have an exchange of value over that system using tokenized and cryptocurrencies. And it really kind of got to understood actually a bit more about what Bitcoin is and how particularly Bitcoin as a decentralized currency really has a potential to change a lot of things. And that's really why I'm so passionately committed to Elastos, because we are at our heart a decentralized system that tries to use all the best of Web3 to make a kind of new system for decentralized approach to the world. So yeah, that's in a nutshell why I'm here.
Fantastic. Very well said, Jon. Very well said. And yeah, I think it's interesting and very apt that you talk about, being interested, I suppose, in the power of networks and decentralized technology as opposed to crypto itself. And yeah, I suppose it'd be good if you could maybe give us a high level overview of Elastos to begin with, because it's quite it's an interesting one, but it's a little bit of a tricky one to get your head around at first, because there are a few different components which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah, any way you'd like, just give us the kind of the high level vision, if you like.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, it's really about this idea of a fully decentralized system. So with a blockchain at its heart, the way I try and describe it is a blockchain computer has 4 different levels. And Elastos really works at all of those different levels. So you've got the layer 0, which is basically the decentralized storage and infrastructure and carrier services, which we also have, that forms the foundation for a blockchain computer. But the next level, you've obviously got what's referred to as layer 1, which is the chain and the ability to actually create a crypto and transact via that network. And the next layer, which is layer 2, which is the one we're actually focusing on right now, has been where with Bitcoin we've potentially struggled because it's been very expensive and quite slow to create a genuine layer 2. So that's the smart contracts that sit on a blockchain computer. They don't really sit very well on a traditional kind of Bitcoin system, and we are merge mined with Bitcoin. So that's the challenge and the problem that we've been trying to address in the last year or so, which is how do we scale that layer, that layer 2. And then finally, within our system, we've got the third layer, which is the decentralized applications and all of the kind of things that we want to bring to consumers that sit on top of it. So that's a little bit of a technical description, but it really is the scale of our vision. And as I say, what really we're focusing on is solving the problem around the layer two for Bitcoin, because that's what's really stopped this. It's an amazing technology, Bitcoin, and the fact that it's so decentralized, at its pure, at its core. But the challenge has always been, how do we take its security? How do we take all of the amazing ability to create a whole new currency for the world, basically, and make it scalable and work at a detailed level. So that's really what's exciting about what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, fascinating, John. So what you're talking about is, the wonderful thing about Bitcoin is you've identified as it is, far and away the largest decentralized network or blockchain network in the world. It holds the most value, and you know, a lot of people would say it potentially has the clearest path forward in maintaining that decentralization. But to bring, what people would use, Ethereum people used to say as utility to that, then that is where the wonderful world of layer twos come in, which just adds another layer of programmability, if you like, to Bitcoin. And there's a number of teams that are working on this problem, but you are certainly one of them. And I guess the layer two solution that you guys have, it's called Bell 2, isn't it, John?
Yeah, and that's an acronym, Bitcoin Elastos Layer 2.
Yes.
And that's our specific technology that we've been developing. And just to pick up on your point on how it works, because it very much relates to that Ethereum, taking the benefits of Ethereum, right? So as you say, we've got this fantastic decentralized technology, which is Bitcoin at a scale that's potentially going to impact the whole world. But the challenge has been that we need to add smart contracts into the Bitcoin system. And so what we've done is, over the course of our history, we've also built an Ethereum EVM compatibility. So really what we do in creating our layer 2 is we try to create what's called native Bitcoin. So what that means is that we actually keep all of the assets, Bitcoin assets, on the Bitcoin network. So if you imagine on the left-hand side, Bitcoin here, we lock Bitcoin assets into a particular strength of Bitcoin, which is a script it has, and then actually transfer information from Bitcoin into the Ethereum and EVM system, where the smart contracts are held. And then those smart contracts are able to communicate back to Bitcoin. And what that means is that we can create this kind of whole system for crypto without taking Bitcoin assets from the Bitcoin network, right? So it all remains as part of that fully decentralized system with all the benefits of its security. But suddenly we can then add that programmability that you talked about by utilizing Ethereum. And that's pretty exciting, because we can offer that to actually all other layer twos. So we can interconnect layer twos both on Bitcoin, but also in the Ethereum world. So what that means is we're bringing the liquidity of Bitcoin into the Ethereum world, and vice versa. So it's pretty exciting for how crypto, but also decentralized systems can evolve in the future.
And you're also pioneering the concept of native Bitcoin staking as well, with
Yeah.
this ecosystem as well. Again, which is something people are much more familiar with proof of stake systems such as Ethereum, right?
Correct. That's right. So that takes us into really the secret sauce of how we do this, which is obviously using ZK proof technology. And that's when I say the communication between the Bitcoin network and the Ethereum network, that happens via ZK proofs running on a Chiron circuit. And what happens there is that we're able to secure, so we're just transmitting information. So that becomes a very secure way of running a system. but also we can then stake the Bitcoin using what we call an arbiter node. Actually, is the mechanism we use. So basically, the staker stakes their Bitcoin, stakes the token, and that can be any token actually. But we obviously prioritize our token, which is ELA, and then earn rewards in Bitcoin for that staking. So that's quite a powerful new model. Well, basically you can stake, as I say, we would like you to stake ELA and earn Bitcoin in return. So that's quite an attractive proposition. You could actually stake other different cryptocurrencies, but we obviously would rather incentivize our own, mainly because it's merge mined, so we're getting the security benefits for the process of staking.
And is that how you see yourself attracting new users to the ecosystem, to the chain, by offering those kind of incentives? And do you see yourself as, I guess, like competing with other Bitcoin layer twos?
It's a great question. So, no, we don't. In essence, what we're able to do is utilize that technology and the ZK proof technology for any other layer two on Bitcoin. So in many ways, we're acting as a interoperability protocol for those layer twos. Now, obviously, we can do it as a layer two ourselves, but the real benefit is this ability to actually knit together all of those other layer twos, and as I say, with that staking model, attract new users who would obviously run the nodes via the staking. So that's a new community that we would build to do that. But then the second benefit is we also are launching a lending product. So using this mechanism, we're able to find peer-to-peer lenders. So if somebody on the EVM side has 100 USDT that they want to offer as a loan, if we've got say Rich Bob with that 100 USDT, he can put that into the layer 2 system, and at the same time we can find, say, Amy, who runs a node and needs a bit of money just to help get us closer to the bull run. She can lock that Bitcoin in the Bitcoin script, and they can agree terms of a loan, which rules are set by the arbiter. So when they're met, the loan essentially kind of redeems itself, and both sides get the ability to both invest their USDT, but also use their Bitcoin and earn money and interest essentially around Bitcoin. So again, that will have a much bigger consumer footprint, and will be multiple other projects we're looking to. Lending is our kind of first step in that direction.
And that lending, that loan app that you're talking about, that's live, John?
It's live in a demo, yeah.
Right.
So what that means is that you're able to use it. You are able to take small loans, and we're experimenting with loans. One of the key things is we're building out this arbiter network of staking in the next six to 12 months, and that's obviously necessary to scale a product like that, to more of that mass consumer usage. So we're taking it carefully, and we're making sure that we understand the parameters and kind of what's a new culture of peer-to-peer lending using this amazing decentralized nature of Bitcoin. So what we're doing is, and we're working with some other really great partners, as you say, in the L2 world, like BVM and B Squared, for example, to try to create a kind of whole new ecosystem and a future for Bitcoining as a driver.
Yeah, well, I guess on that point, John, interested in your thoughts on, yeah, I suppose you'd call it Bitcoin DeFi and how that is progressing. Just general thoughts on the Bitcoin ecosystem as a whole. Here we are, coming up into sort of approaching not quite the end of the year, but it's coming in strong. Been an eventful year already for Bitcoin though.
Yeah. So I mean, I think what I've just described is one example of a BitFi, as it's sometimes called, or BTC-Fi model. As I say, we are really taking it carefully and slowly. And I think one of the things that obviously when you ever get a new sector, you get a bit of a hype curve around this whole idea of DeFi on Bitcoin. And it's really important to stress the potential is huge, but it needs to be really, really, really carefully thought through. The last thing we want to do is lose the benefits of the security and scale of Bitcoin. So one of the dangers, for example, is the alternative to the native Bitcoin approach I described would be to wrap Bitcoin. So you would take Bitcoin from the Bitcoin network, you would wrap it and then move the asset from the network into a EVM environment. So move the actual asset itself. Now that's perfectly fine, obviously. But what that does is it actually you start to lose the benefits of Bitcoin security, but also you start to divide the liquidity of Bitcoin when you start doing that as well. And one of the huge benefits of the scale of Bitcoin is it can create liquidity that can not just support crypto economy. One of our parts of our program is we really believe that Bitcoin can be used to help create liquidity within the whole global economy. So we refer to this as, as after the end of the Second World War at Bretton Woods, gold was used as a form of liquidity to stabilize the rebuilding of, at the time, Europe, but the global economy. Bitcoin, we believe in the near future, can provide that kind of liquidity to help address some of the credit crisis that's currently going on in the global economy, and that's really what we see as exciting behind this project, because Bitcoin can be used with a basket of other assets, gold, etc., to actually really help to address that liquidity issue. And certainly in this bull run, as it grows, it becomes a bigger and bigger potential currency to do that. So as I say, the potential is huge, but we're taking our time, and with all these hype curves, it will go through a kind of, people will start to experiment, get a bit disillusioned, and then commercial applications will be developed, and then the market will really take off. So kind of my view on that is it's really important to get it right, because we need to protect the integrity of Bitcoin as we go through this process, and that would be the biggest mistake I think as an industry we could make if we don't protect that fundamental integrity that sits behind Bitcoin. So it will be slower than I think a lot of people would want to advocate, but I think when it does land, the impact will be really significant and really, bigger than we think it will.
Protect the integrity of a Bitcoin. That's a wonderful way of saying it, Jon, and I could not agree more. So yeah, great thoughts there. And look, as much as it seems like, it does indeed take a while for these things to happen, but in the bigger picture of Bitcoin's short history, it's certainly the adoption of Bitcoin is really happening at pace, at scale, and it's fascinating to be around to see it. Well, look, Jon, I suppose we have covered, like what you guys are doing with Bell 2 then, but, there's more to Elastos. I said that at the beginning of the show. So do you want to just kind of cover off anything else about Elastos, and also Elasticity? Is that how we say that? Elasticity?
Elasticity, yeah. So yeah, I'll start with Elasticity because I think that's a really good example. I mentioned at the beginning that what we do is based on this amazing decentralized power of Bitcoin, and it's all about how do we build a whole ecosystem that creates for Web3 a decentralized network. And Elasticity is a really good example of that. Essentially, what it does is it creates a digital rights management system for a Web3 environment. So rather than running as digital rights currently do, where a creator of content may create on YouTube some content, and then they give all of their rights over to YouTube for around that content when it's published on YouTube, as well as 65% of the revenue that goes to fund what is an amazing product that YouTube deliver. But the creator has lost centralized and lost a lot of their rights. So what Elasticity does is it creates a tokenized system where the content creator can decide using what we call access tokens who can actually who they can grant access to, and the pricing on a fully decentralized mechanism, right? So you can access anyone can access their content by buying through these access tokens. But the data and the creative content remains entirely with the creator, and the creator also gets 95% of the revenue. So what that means is they actually then can share some of that revenue with often a creative process has take music, for example, a co-creator who you may want to share some of that revenue with. You may have a promotional arm that also deserves to share that revenue, and that can be programmed into these access tokens. So essentially it's a royalty system that distributes the royalties equitably to the people that actually made the content. And that's that's what when we talk about decentralization, it's that kind of absolute change in the model that we want to drive, and Elasticity is a really brilliant example of that. One of the processes we're looking at for this is how do we address the music industry? Obviously, that's an area where content is often a lot of artists don't receive all the value of their content. So we're actually working with a project Beat Farm, which creates a kind of super app for music fans. And so using this kind of ability to share actually access to content, even the kind of original OG fans of the music can earn rights and royalties to that whole process as the group and band grows. So what you're doing is empowering a community around this content and around the original creative content, and creating lots of new economic models. And really, we're pretty excited by that, because that's kind of decentralization in action. It's really a very powerful tool that you're developing. So the next job there is to obviously persuade creators and consumers that there's a different way to do it than the traditional Web 2 model. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm particularly kind of passionate about this because, having spent a lot of my career working on the internet and helping build some Web 2 models, some of the potential to share and use the internet as a kind of open platform, sort of got waylaid by some of the big Web 2 companies, to be honest, and not just in terms of not sharing equitably, but also using people's privacy rights and various other kind of transgressions really around some of the responsibilities that a Web 2 company or somebody running an internet platform should take very very, very, very seriously. So that for me, that's that making that change would be something, a real achievement. And again, it comes back to Bitcoin, because what we're doing with Belt 2 is allowing us to easily commercialize and make those models work. So we actually just recently agreed a partnership with a really fantastic company called Particle Network, who allow, one of the challenges of all of these Web3 models is that it can be a bit, I would use the word fiddly or complex to use. And Particle Network allow you to basically kind of abstract the blockchain and abstract the account away, so it feels like you're in a traditional Web2 environment. But at the same time, you get all the benefits of Web3 of owning your own data and being able to monetize that data in an equitable way. So, there's a lot of work to be done, obviously, on these models. But we're really excited that if we can keep, as I say, the integrity of Bitcoin, then we can deliver something that really is in the interests of as many people as possible.
Fantastic. Wonderfully said again, John. All right. Well, look, for anyone that's interested, John, be great if you could share anything perhaps that is coming up in the product pipeline for any of the different solutions that you and your team are working on, and also for people that want to dive deeper into Elastos, into Bell 2, into Elasticity. What is the best way that they should do that? What should they do, and where should they go?
So we're really excited about Token 2049, which happens in Singapore on the 19th of September. We will be debuting some of our products at that. We're actually organising the music. We're organising a networking party, and we'll be kind of minting some of the tokens using actually an inscription directly from live music onto Bitcoin, and I think that will be one of the first times that anyone will have seen that happen, certainly live in the world. So that's something that we're really excited about, and that really will kick off the whole kind of rollout of the music. We do see a lot of adoption of this Bitcoin technology in Southeast Asia and Asia in general. There seems to be a more open mind to wanting to experiment or adopt Bitcoin, but also do some of these more exciting things with Bitcoin in Asia than there is in Europe and the US, which tends to be a little bit more, I guess, all the regulatory environments there mean that people are a little bit more cautious. So that token event's really important. We will be kind of launching our partnerships there as well around this idea of the new Bretton Woods, so the Belt 2 and some sort of partnerships, academic and around how do we make that happen, and that will be a kind of less of a networking party and more of a thought leadership event at Token. And I think one of the key things for that will be the next iteration of our lending product, where we'll have some partners who will be coming on board, including, as I mentioned, Particle, but we've got several other partners who will be kind of investing in how do we scale. One of the big things is making sure that it's as user friendly as possible. So that lending product will be demoed then at Token 249. And then later in the year, the really exciting thing is probably in the fourth quarter, the staking product. So the actual scaling of this ability to stake ELA and earn Bitcoin will be launched with the Arbiter network. So that's something we're certainly our community is looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to launching that a lot, because it will mean we can really start to put a kind of industrial scale behind what we're doing with the decentralized network.
Got it. Thank you, John. Link is in the show notes, listeners, but of course you can just go to elastos.info to find out more about the various platforms, solutions, and products. John, it is time to begin to finish off the show, and we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Let me take the challenge. Take on that challenge.
Yes, indeed, John. I'm just going to run some questions at you. Just want you to give me kind of quick, rapid fire, hot take style answers, if you like. Let's see what you have to say. Question 1 for you, John, is where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I would say that native Bitcoin sits towards the maximalist point of view in terms of maintaining integrity, but really pushes that concept into a more multi-chain environment. So it's really making that bridge between a maximalist and the future.
Very nuanced answer. I like it. All right, John, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
That decentralization will be a revolution within the technology world in the next decade. I think sooner than 10 years, but probably at least 3 years away before we hit a tipping point where crypto will really start to mainstream. I think this bull run will see Bitcoin start to move, and you already see it with the ETFs and the institutional adoption. But I think in 3 to 5 years, there will be a tipping point, and at that point, decentralization will start to replace some of our traditional internet models, and crypto will be the heart of that.
I like it. All right. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. With that in mind, Jon, look, anything you like here, Bitcoin, Bell 2, what does it all look like in 10 years' time?
So in 10 years' time, we see Bitcoin at the heart of a fully decentralized peer-to-peer economy, where people across the world can generally transact commerce in a completely open and peer-to-peer manner. And that includes being able to lend, borrow, sell sate, sell books, whatever you want. We genuinely believe that in a decade, that peer-to-peer world is where we'll be living.
I love it. All right. Flip side of that is, of course, a quote by William Gibson, who famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Jon, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
To be honest, I genuinely think that Bitcoin is here now and can do so many things right now and today, and it really is this fundamentally decentralized mechanism. As it becomes adopted, I think it will get co-opted, but we must. Comes back to the point of maintaining its integrity. It's such a powerful tool, and I think the key point there is it's a non-inflationary tool. And I know that's a bit of a deep thought, but it really does mean that we can engineer some different financial futures. One of our tokens is actually called gold, and it's actually a zero inflation token that we're able to build, and that can transform people's lives. You see it in the US election at the moment. The inflation seems to be the number one issue. It really can help address different economic models. So, yeah, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is here now, and it can be used.
Yes, indeed. It is Bitcoin. It is here now. It can be used. Jon, it brings us nicely to our final question, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
So my favorite is, I must say, I'm a bit of a Trekkie. So I literally all of them, all of the series for different reasons and different ones. But, as you say, the future is here. Star Trek. Yeah, definitely.
Boldly go, Jon. Boldly go.
Boldly go.
Look, thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us on the show today, Jon. A lot of fun talking with you. Just close it out by telling people where they can find you on Twitter, X, or wherever else you like to hang out online. And again, where they should go to just keep up with what you and the team are building at Elastos and Build 2.
Yeah, so you mentioned elastos.info. That's our main site. I'm on X on Metaverse for Good, and then I also sort of do a lot of with Warpcast, which I enjoy quite a lot, and then obviously LinkedIn as well. So just look me up, and happy to have a chat with anyone really about these things. It's pretty exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jon. All the best, and bye for now.
Yes, Andy. Thanks. Bye.